slide, I just want to ask you guys. I changed my name in terms of I corrected Swami sir and mentioned that please call me Miss. Why did I do so? Why did I do so?
You are single parent.
Sorry, louder.
Because you are single parent.
Because
Single parent.
I can't hear you. Little louder, please.
Because you are single parent.
I'm a single parent. That is one part of the information that I shared with you. And I took a decision to share that information. I took a decision to call myself Miss instead of Mrs. I would have been okay with it. But why did I take a decision for that? Because I really wanted you guys to learn one part of the story, that your marital status, your financial status, your background, it doesn't matter. I come from a very humble background. Punjabi is my native language. So even now when I speak, in between I speak Hindi or Punjabi. So I take a real pride in saying that your language should not be constrained in your success. Can you move the slide on, please? It's another slide. While just still figuring out slides, I want to know you guys take decisions on daily basis. Every day you guys take some decisions. Any one of you just raise your hand. What decision you took this morning? You guys don't take decisions. You have to eat something, change clothes, figure out what to wear today, make up. For boys, other things maybe not make up. To attend college today, to wake up. Mommy is calling, let's wake up. So there are a lot of decisions we take day in, day out. Hence, even the businesses do that. Every day, a business wakes up in the morning, or the business managers wakes up in the morning and say, let's take some decisions. Right? So they have to take marketing decisions, they have to take financial decisions, they have to take AI decisions, they have to take hiring decisions, and sometimes even firing decisions. So we all take a lot of decisions. So why is it important now? Decisions we have been taking forever. Like from the time that humanity exists, we take decisions to survive, to eat, to decide. Why we need AI now? Anyone can answer. I would want this to be interactive. It would not be monologue from my side. Okay. Anyone else? Time. What else? You guys want to add? Yes, no. You guys want to add something? To make work easier. To make work easier. We all realize there's a lot of data. This endless data that we have now. Is it in human capacity to look at all the books, all the data, all the documents and make a decision? It's humanly impossible. So we needed a support system, which we call artificial intelligence. Okay. So what is the difference between a human being and an artificial intelligence? Anyone? You guys are all AI students. It is accurate. Is it accurate? Okay. I beg to differ, but still. Anyone else? Is AI accurate always? No. Is it frustrating? Yes. You guys get burnout at times when your assignment is on the head and AI is not giving right results. AI burnout is very, very normal. Okay, and AI is very out of context. It will work like a toddler. It will always come to you and say, hey, what do you want? You will say, I want XYZ research to be done. And it will do only that much. Now, if you change the context, you step back and say, hey, I need research on psychology in XYZ author's detail. Please let me know about it. Then it becomes very contextual. You are adding the context. AI itself cannot add the context. And AI is not accurate actually. AI is as accurate as you are. Your question has to be so appropriate that it should answer you the way you want it to answer. Can you look at the slide? Are you guys with me now?
Yes, ma'am.
So you know why we need AI. There's a lot of data. And why we need humans with them? Because AI cannot think like a mature adult. AI is still a toddler. Okay? It's learning, by the way. It's learning very fast. It's learning much faster than all of you. So if you continue to depend on AI, it will win the race. You need to decide that you want to switch the channel. So that's why we discuss why AI now. Why do we need AI now? So today we are discussing AI in our decision making, in the business decision making. Okay. Then we are looking for why AI for sustainable growth. What exactly AI mean to sustainability? What does sustainability mean here? The most important part is governance and risk. What is governance and risk? Anyone? Why AI need governance? because AI hallucinates. It's after a while, when you keep researching, it starts giving its own results. You need strong awareness. Do you guys read newspaper? All of you? Okay, have anyone read a news article on Deloitte? Deloitte and Australia government case? Anyone? None? Okay. So what happened is Deloitte promised a huge research to Australian government. Okay? And what happened with Deloitte in that research is they gave it to one of the freshers who was not so responsible towards AI. He did all the research, he prepared all the papers, very beautiful work done. By the end of it, when they submitted the paper, the government filed a claim on them for a few $1 million, saying your data is incorrect. Why would government do so? It's AI done, everything is done properly. They delivered what it asked for. The gap was, it was not tested. AI hallucinated on the way, started fine, understood the context and problem fine. But after a while, it could not continue to do the same thing what a human would have done. A human check at every stage would have actually had them see the shame and the money. Okay? So they end up paying a few $1 million to government, and they also have to do the research again. So it's a big loss to them. Okay? So how do we implement? So I'll try to put it in a very simple form for anyone of you who would want to start a business or look at a business in future. How do businesses implement AI? So we just spoke about the data explosion. Faster markets. The market is moving really fast now. Every day you see someone is innovating something with the help of AI or without the help of AI. There are a lot of creative minds in the world. Even the minds who created the deep neural network, the LLM models, all of them are not on ChatGPT. So they are continuously creating it. By the way, all of you can refer some websites. Maybe I'll share with Swami Saran later. There are published research available online by the scientists in Harvard and other places. You can continuously check what they are researching upon. AI is there, they can just go and get the data done. But they are continuously researching to improve it, how the neural networks can work better. Competitive pressure. Your competitor is launching something tomorrow. So you end up understanding what they are doing using AI. Shift to intelligence. So while we are saying humans are very intelligent, as I said, we can't grasp all the data very quickly. We need someone to put all the data together, which we provide, and then we bring insight out of it, which we call predictive intelligence, looking forward towards the business. Any questions till now? Any thoughts which you guys want to add? As I said, I don't want to speak. No? You want to say something? But please interact, otherwise it's boring. I'm speaking like in a monologue, which I don't like. So how do we move from data to growth? So what can your models do, the GPT models or the other models or Perplexity and many other things? They can take your data. So how you can use them better is give them direction, give them the data that you need, give them a direction of XYZ type of data that we need. From that, we create some insights. Based on those insights, humans have to verify that this insight is correct or not. Okay? Now coming back to data from there, being part of all the companies, they gave an extensive background about me, but I have worked with companies like Boston Consulting Group and IBM and other things. So I know at a back end, what we do is there's a lot of dummy data. We don't want our competitors to know everything. Okay? So we are 80% data is mostly correct, and 20% we add fake data. And you don't know if that will change your trend to downward or upward. No one knows, it's system generated. So even I cannot guess who's a real client or who's a fake client or anything. So your data is always 80% correct. Okay? So you have to be cautious when you are taking insight into a decision-making process. You have to have the questions, you have to have the checkpoints, you have to have the market research done again. And that leads to your actions. Action can be now, I can decide to launch a product, I can decide to merge with the company, I can decide to withdraw from the company. I can also decide to change my pricing. Okay? I can say that, okay, market is changing, I might need to reduce the price. Now giving an example on that, action. Okay? The action example is IBM long ago, what they did was, in China they were selling their product, their servers. If you guys know IBM, they would know they sell servers. Now cloud space. Back 10 years back, they were selling only servers. In China, they were selling it at 99% discount. Why would they do so? 99% discount. Huge. Any thoughts? There's no right and wrong answer.
Because she introduced that product. Because she introduced that product.
To introduce that product. They are existing in the market from 100 years. They don't have to introduce themselves. In China, the pricing was 99% down. Exception approvals for all sales. What does China do? What do we know China for? Mass production. They mass produce everything. Right? They have factories to mass produce everything. What was China doing? China had a lot of grey market for servers. So to compete there, IBM dipped the price to 99%. It's a fair game, right? I'm giving you my 1% of the cost. And they captured the market and then they change the price accordingly later. Once the servers are fixed, you cannot change them day in, day out. It's a difficult process. If you understand the cloud also, if you understand your deployment on cloud and deployment on server, you know it's not easy job. You can't continue to change. So it's market capturing mechanism that thing. So is it fair to do so? 99%? Perhaps it's fair. Grey market. See, in the business, that's what I will tell you in the next slides. Business has two goals. One, to bring profitability. Second, to sustain people and planet, as sir mentioned also. Right? So then there's a balance to strike. Sometimes you have to do the profitability side. You have to survive. I can do good to the planet only when I survive in the market. If I'm out of the market, how will I help you? If I'm not there only, how will I change anything? Okay? It's practically, ethically not right to do that. But when you are dealing with grey markets, it's fine. Because grey market, you will get the same thing at a very, very cheap price. Now what will happen with all of this? Why do we take all this headache? We want to grow. Anyone who starts a business doesn't want to stay stagnant at one place. You cannot say that I have started a business at 1 crore and I want to stay at 1 crore. No one wants to do it. Okay? Think from that perspective for yourself. When you came to college, you started with your first year. Do you want to stay in first year? You want to graduate. You want to start working. You want to earn, and then you want to earn more every year. Okay? Proportionate growth. And how does growth happen? Growth starts from a point wherever you start. For example, if you start a salary of 3 lakh rupees, that's your starting point. Now your growth will happen from that place. You start a salary of 10 lakh rupees. The proportion and growth will happen from that place. So it's always compounding as per your starting point. So you want to start better every time, right? So that's why your actions and growth matter. Now I'll give you a small story about myself also. I am born brought up in Punjab. The decision I took that time was to come to Bangalore. My parents said get married. I said okay fine, I want to work. I want to work in Bangalore. If that's the condition to go to Bangalore, I'm okay with it. But that's the decision I took. Can I hold anyone accountable for that? No. The actions were mine. The data was mine. I looked at the data and said, coming to Bangalore will give me a good job, will give me a good future and everything. So data is mine, actions are mine, growth is mine as well. You need to have complete ownership of whatever you feel like. That's how data works. There was no AI to tell me that Bangalore will be better salary that time. Okay, so second important point from the previous chart that we saw, the 4 important points in AI decision making, is predictive intelligence. I would want to hear from one of you, what is predictive intelligence? Assumptions? Yes, assumptions. What else?
Yeah, when we are predicting it, like the future.
Future. What is intelligence in that? Predicting is future. What is intelligence? Assumption with historical data to look forward. Okay? That is predictive intelligence. If you continue to look backwards, you will not be able to look forward. So you have to look for 2 parts of the story. You have to look at the past, you have to look at the present, and you also have to look at the plans of future by the government, by your competitors, by the market. So when you mix these 3, you will get predictive intelligence. And AI can certainly help you with that. Why AI can help you with that? Because there's a hell lot of data we are talking about. We are talking about your competitors, there can be hundreds and thousands in the market, their data, their information about every revenue model they have used, their marketing model they have used, their pricing models they have used. Now that intelligence will come from humans. That I need to take a financial decision, let's look at financial data. for predictive intelligence. I need to look for a marketing information. I need to change my marketing model completely. The way I'm marketing, the way I'm copywriting, the way I am pricing myself in the market. That decision comes from you. And even for that matter, number of competitors you will reduce to. You will not pick up 100,000 competitors. You will pick up few. How do you decide that? You have to filter down on some criteria. Even that comes from you guys. AI will help you certainly do this. It will help you do your demand forecasting, it will help you do your churn protection, it will help you do your revenue models also. Once you give it a correct data, you don't have to do the mathematical model, it will do it for you. However, you still need to check the formula. You still need to validate it once, okay? Because it tend to hallucinate. It will give you risk scoring also. Whenever you are taking a decision, please ask your GPT or whichever model you are using to do a risk scoring for your work. Most of the time, if you are fair with GPT, she'll be fair with you or he will be fair with you, telling you that there's a risk in this data. Okay? It is 50% matching to your request or 30% match. The right kind of LLMs, I'm not sure about GPT though, the right kind of LLMs does give you a risk score. With me till now?
Yes.
Okay. To ask questions, stop me wherever you feel like. So, we come to a point where we understood how data works, and we come to a point where we understand how predictive intelligence works. Is that correct? So what is data-driven strategy? Now businesses need data-driven strategy. What was happening in the past was, it was more like, I have been part of research companies by the way, IDC and research, IDC and Gartner as well. So I'm ancient, but I'm not dinosaur ancient. So I have worked with too many companies. I have around 25 years of work experience, so if you imagine 5 years with each also counts for that. So what happens was, earlier even when we used to forecast, there was some part of the data, there was some part of my intelligence. When I say my intelligence, it was whosoever is the analyst or whosoever is the principal consultant that one time, his or her intelligence also comes into play. What happens when that person's intelligence comes into play? It can be gut feel. It can be intuitive. Because I have been in the market for so long, I tend to add my opinion to it. And it's not wrong, it's human. We are seeing market day in, day out, we are talking to all the competitors, we are talking to all the clients in the area. So you can as human make a mistake. And in the past, there was this saying in at least in my business, that forecasts tend to go wrong. They tend to fall down. So it's okay if the forecast is not 100%, if the forecast is somewhere at 80% or 70%. While that was the case those days, it was a gut feel sort of a thing. Finger in the air. I feel it's going to be 100 million. I feel it's going to be 30 million. And why do you feel so? Because the analyst who's SME in that expert area is saying so. And if you ask that person, why are you saying so? He says, because I have an experience in this market. I know the America, the APJ is Asia Pacific and Japan, and the rest of the world. This is the ratio they operate in. 60% of the manufacturing comes from China, 20% comes from India, rest comes from Philippines and Sri Lanka. It's a number everyone knows, right? But is it actually a correct number? Or it's analysts who have given those numbers? It's analysts who have given those numbers. So it's a gut feeling, because you are in the market. It could be the case that Philippines now has changed its policy, or Sri Lanka has changed the policy, and now they are having more manufacturing companies. Do we have a data for that? We have data somewhere on the server, but do analysts have time for doing all of that? No, they are out standing in the market talking about the products, talking about the information all the time. They hardly have time to go back and check all the data. So now GPT is doing is compounding. It's helping them build their database strategy. Okay? So if you look at market now, even consulting comes with a package of tools. When I say package of tools, it's like they want to benchmark you, they want to check your readiness, they give you a competitor assessment, and after that they will tell you what is the best fit for you. And GPT is certainly doing all of that. So it's compounding the human. It is not taking the space for you. These are the points which I have mentioned. Some of the strategy points are segmentation. What should be your target customer audience? How do you segment your markets? How do you do your pricing optimization? Pricing optimization basically means how you optimally price point your product to sell the most. It has been the most difficult problem of this world till now. I was myself part of pricing elasticity model. I just mentioned about China example. We have done a similar thing for Africa as well. The pricing elasticity always go off and on, right? Because market is continuously changing. You are continuously figuring out how do you optimally price your product. And then the moment you price your product, your competitor will announce 30% discount on a similar pricing. And then you are wondering, what do I do next? The optimal pricing is very important. It actually takes care of your competitor actions also. That in the past, every time you change a price, your competitor has moved the price up and down by a certain percentage. Please be aware of that part. To cope up with that, there are some special approvals that take in systems by most of the salespeople, that where they say, okay, though we are selling at XYZ price, but to our special customers, give it at so and so percentage, so as you don't go to the competitor. That's how it works. Sales forecasting, I think all of you should know. Anyone wants to add to that? What is sales forecasting? She's making a face. I like that face though. She's like, I don't know what is sales forecasting. What is sales forecasting? Sales forecasting is when you estimate the revenue with the sales or the number of items. So there are two types of the markets standing out there in the world, which has been there forever. One is volume based. Volume based is you have to sell millions of products to get million type of revenue, or value based. Value based is when you are selling your intelligence or such heavy products like servers or cloud space, where you can, even if you sell 10 items, you will make enough money. Volume and value. Sales forecasting helps with that. Understand your market. Should you go volume based? Should you go value based? Okay. So now to do all of that, you will read all of your market. Imagine you are sitting here in India and you want to sell in Australia, Singapore. How will you do a sales forecasting for Australia and Singapore? Anyone? Nowhere? No? None of you? How will you do it? How will you look at Australian market? I have explained quite a bit now.
Previous year's results.
Previous year's research. Okay. But that's previous years. Market would have changed. The economy would have completely changed. They would have changed the policies also. But you know, quarterly data is 1 quarter behind. Always.
What is it mean?
Yeah. I was part of the IDC Black Book. I was actually owning that full product. It's always a quarter late. By the time the data goes out for anyone to take a decision, the market would have changed completely. So there is a counter product called custom research. Every time we sell that quarterly product of research, you sell another product called custom research, which is very much based on your requirements. Right? So sales forecasting actually help you understand APJ and other markets by getting into the market. You have analysts sitting out there in the market. As our firms, like I have worked with IDC and Gartner, they used to have people on the ground. Okay? So they used to go to these competitors and companies and collect data, talk to them about how your product works, give us a demo, we'll cover even a research, that sort of a situation. And they used to gather information, how the market is changing, how the policies are changing. You can call it survey data. It was more or less like client relationship building and all of that. It's part of it is survey. 50% is accurate. That was the past that we are talking about, right? So in the past, when we used to do that, people are on the ground, and then, as I said, people will have the feeling also that I went to that person, I know he is hiding something. He has some data that he didn't tell me, and his revenues are increasing for sure. Hence, your data is skewed. Your forecasting was always skewed. Otherwise, when you are sitting in India and you are thinking about Australian market or Singapore market or any other market, it was pretty much impossible to go there and set up a business because you don't know the policies, you don't know the rules. You need people on the ground. But now what is happening, any one of you can set up a business in Dubai tomorrow by the way. Yes. Yes.
We usually look into the volatility.
Yeah.
Then we cannot trust on things
Yes.
So how do you incorporate there in the stock market?
See, in the stock market now they are looking at day-to-day trading of the companies as well. You guys would
We are
know.
talking about FNOs. FNOs, future
Future trading. So for that also they look at the forecast, but at the same time they continue to check government policies. Just between you and me, there are insiders. There are insiders who give you information about marketing of those companies, or if they are falling. Huh? All the ratios they check it. At the same time, even if you check all the data, the insider story can tell you that if they are tomorrow withdrawing from the lead market. It is not legally accepted anywhere in the world, but still inside trading happens. To some extent, it's to some extent. In India, it is a legal offense because you can actually trouble all the customers, all the stakeholders and shareholders. So in India, I think the volume of investment is very high as well. That's why. So for to answer your question, Swami sir, to answer your question, you need to have a forward-looking policy. The data should give you a forward-looking, which means you have to stay very current with your data. Even if you don't have an insider, you have to continuously check what is government launching, how these people are changing. You continuously track the path, and there are so many companies who do that. Path of each big company. If you are investing into big companies or smaller companies, so you continuously track their path, even if you don't have any insider. Right. Marketing ROI. What is marketing ROI? This should be straightforward. The return on investment on your market. So tell me one thing. Any one of you tell me that marketing can directly lead to any sales? You put it on Instagram, LinkedIn, or digital marketing portal. Can it lead to sale? No, it cannot. It cannot guarantee. You can get a lead, maybe. You cannot, maybe not get a lead from a business perspective. From an influencer or small business perspective, it works out. Okay? You can get some leads and you can get some business, but if you are dealing in a big business, it will only give you some leads, some information, but it cannot confirm sales. It can never hit top line. It can only hit bottom line. So your ROI, what is your ROI from marketing then? The leads. Only that much you can give them. You cannot hit top line, you can only hit bottom line. When you say bottom line, it's the revenue through leads. That we provided 20 leads in a year, 30 leads in a year, whatever. Or awareness. So you need to define your KPIs for your product very clearly. Even when you are using AI, you define your KPIs. You tell the AI that what is my KPI. I got distributing words. So you tell API that I want to prepare a marketing plan for XYZ business, and my KPIs are, my metrics are, that's how I want to monitor my business. Okay? So when you tell your AI to be very precise about the results, then it'll tell you how to create your funnel. What is the best tool for your kind of product, your target audience. Right? We are clear? How do we prepare data strategy? Data-based strategy, based on facts, based on reality, not based on I feel so, I think so. It should be pretty much forward-looking and evidence-based, as per my slides is. So another thing that whosoever want to start their business can do that is scenario simulation. It's very explanatory in itself. What is scenario simulation? What if analysis? You know, if I launch something, what will be the result? And it's very beautiful, by the way. You can create your MVPs very quickly. If you guys know a couple of tools like N8N, Lovable, Bolts, you can actually launch your apps within no time. Okay? However, the catch is all of these products use something called tokens, which you have to buy, the AI tokens. Now, if you don't know what you are trying to achieve, you will consume endless tokens. Okay? Before you start dealing with any scenario simulation, you need to know what I am dealing with, what I am creating, what kind of market it will serve, how will I best use my tokens. Okay? And you also need to know your coding concepts. For example, I will give one example here. In case you are creating an app using one of the AI modules or any tool, what happens is you have to tell him, connect to the backend. What kind of backend? Connect to the cloud. What kind of cloud? What will cloud do? Do you want to use AWS? Do you want to use AWS Lambda or something else? You need to know your concepts. AI will not know. If you ask it to recommend, you are using AI's time and you are using your money also to waste. However, if your concepts are clear, you will tell it, okay, go to Cloudflare, connect with my email. It will ask you various questions. For example, it might not be a familiar term for you guys. For example, it sometimes asks you, give me your clear site theme. And you are like, what is clear site theme? Somebody told me use AI and create your website. I have no time, and now it is asking me random questions, right? But if you get into that loop of random questions, it is endless. You will never achieve anything. Okay? So you need to be very clear on what you want to achieve. Like I said at the start, AI is a toddler. You ask it speak A, it will say A. You say A for apple, it say A for apple. So you need to tell him. Next time he will speak whatever you say. So your requirement has to be very, very clear to the for what if models also. Anything any of you want to add? Anything you guys would have tried? You guys are BCA students, all of you. So you would have tried, I'm sure, on ChatGPT or Gemini or something. I know all of you prepare your assignments and assessments through that, but I want to know that what else you have tried other than your assignments and assessments. Tried anything innovative? No. Today, when you go back home, try something innovative. Use your mind to write down on paper one thing you want to achieve. For example, even if as simple as that, after I leave the college, what is my 5-yearly goal? From a salary perspective, from a house perspective, from parental perspective, what are your parents expecting of you? Prepare a goal plan, but give it a clear indication. Try this, just write. GPT, please write my goals for 5 years, and then change the prompt completely. Say that in 5 years, I want to own a company of 1 million. Okay, here is my creative ideas. 1, 2, 3, 4. Tell me which idea is acceptable in the market and will have a potential 5 years down the line. Look at the wonder it will do. It will tell you the tools, it will tell you the funnel you need to use, it will tell you even the audience that you should focus on. And even if the idea is already done and dusted, even then it will say, no, there are too many competitors. Right? But ask it what you need. If you are not clear with your goals, it will give you all garbage. And I have, of all you people, I think I have one of the person who tried it out. I myself learned prompt engineering from scratch. So I know that when I give random things, I get random answers. By the way, even for me also, like I have a lot of people to work with me, I learned myself to create a website, create a complete app, end-to-end app with all the connectivities, all the APIs, integrations and everything done, on my own. Learn to use AI to create pura agentic model on my own. Though my team can do it, I can just pay one person, he will do it. But the point is, what is my value then? What am I doing? If I don't know my subject, how will I teach anyone else? They can maybe do agentic AI, but can they do the process? Do they understand the whole process of the business? No. Capital allocation testing. Capital is very important part in any business. Even student life also, your parents have given you some capital. And let me be honest, I am a mother of an 18-year-old son. You guys are our investments. Okay? We have invested in you. Your parents have invested in all of you. So they had certain money. All of your parents are working or they have businesses. They had, say supposedly, I am just making a number, I am not pointing on anyone. Supposedly your parents are earning 50 lakh rupees in a year. Okay? And you guys have 2 brothers and sisters. So they decided the eldest one is very intelligent. Let me send him to the best of the college, okay, and give 20% of my earning, which is a big amount, 10 lakh rupees to this kid for his fees. The second one looks okay, he might be okay with my business only, so maybe I'll send him to simple college. He doesn't have a scope. Maybe he's good with it. So he reduced the money to 5 lakh, capital allocation there. The third one is very young, future unknown. So it's fine. I can start with some, Montessori school or something, and let's see how it goes. That is capital allocation in as simple terms as possible. For a business, we have to decide money goes into marketing, money goes into sales, how much money I can spend on salaries, how much money I can spend on office expense. So your capital allocation is very important. If any one of you in future decide to be an entrepreneur, your board asks you the questions. How did you allocate your capital to marketing? For example, I have some people who are very flamboyant and feel that we should allocate 50% to marketing. Do you guys think 50% to marketing is okay? If you have 1 crore in hand, you can give 50% to marketing? You cannot. You cannot give 50% to marketing. There is no rationale. You cannot even clarify that to your board members. You cannot bring the results. I always advise zero-based budgeting. Zero-based budgeting actually means that you start from a point zero. Say my marketing budget is at level 0. I will start with 5%, 10% and all of that. And then I'll get an incremental value as I show my KPIs done. Now think about it. Can all of this can be done by AI? Can artificial intelligence can do this? To some extent and to some extent not. They cannot face the board numbers. You can put the data with the help of AI, but the rationale behind it, the story behind it, the data behind it has to be very clear. And think about it from that angle. The people who are investing money in the market, the VCs or the investors, they are very smart. They have done and invested what you are trying. Hence, they are now investors in your businesses. So they want clear facts and figures. The moment they feel it is all AI generated, they will say bye bye Tata. Find out another investor. We are withdrawing our money from your innovation. The third is market entry simulation. I explained already that when you are doing a market entry, you can actually create an MVP on your own using GPT. However, your requirement has to be clear. See, your strategic regret goes down when you are doing simulations and you are trying things out even before you go to market. What if I don't try and directly go to market? I have a brilliant idea to manufacturing a special type of cream and I just started production. What will happen in that case? I didn't test the market. I don't even know if anyone will buy my cream or not. Anyone? What will happen to it? I launched a product without understanding my market, without understanding any ground testing or anything. What will happen to my product? I felt AI says so. ChatGPT ने बोला है, my product will do really great, so I should launch it tomorrow. So I announced the product tomorrow, and I started manufacturing also because GPT said so that I might get millions out of it. What is the result? I might fail. The chances of me failing is very high. Sorry?
You didn't do testing.
I didn't do testing. I didn't do any simulation. I didn't do any product testing. I didn't even spoke to my target market.
Check that the product is already available or not. Please check that.
But what was my failure point? I decided my decision on the basis of AI. AI just thought something and gave me something. And God knows, maybe it was hallucinating that time. Yeah, it could be looking at US market. So I wrote, okay, I need a cream which can make me look younger to 20 years. Okay, I want to look younger at 20 years age. Or maybe it should make me thin like Katrina Kaif or something. Okay, or taller like that. And I made the product. Maybe it works in US or something. I don't know. Right? GPT said, yeah, why not? Great idea. Let's do it. And I called the manufacturer also. Hey, I have a great idea. Let's start manufacturing from tomorrow. I'll give you the formula for my cream. And he started doing it. But you didn't do the validations for which you need humans. At the end of the thing about it, why we need AI is to support humans, not to take humans' work away or not to replace humans. Okay? If it does so, by the way, let's in a fictitious example, we assume there are those robot movies now where the robots take over the world. There are no more humans left. So why we need robots? Will they buy anything? Will they sell anything? No. Will the economy fall flat? Yes. You need AI to support the living, not to finish off everything. The economy, you don't want the economy to fall completely. Okay. We spoke about businesses that already by your topic, right? If we do proper simulation with the help of AI, if we do proper testing and checking and concept testing and proper structural thought process building with the help of AI, we can actually reduce cost. Now, how I tell you so? I give example of the website building. In any term, if you have to give a website to a website developer, it takes 15 days to a month minimum. And usse bhi pehle you need to have a clear idea on what do you want the website to be look like. some examples, some design, some branding colors and everything. However, if your initial thoughts are clear and you use right tools, the GPT or the other tools like Volt and other I mentioned, they can do it in 2 days time. Okay? If your concepts are clear, so what happened? I reduced the cost. Now what will happen with my website developer? He will learn to use AI. Okay, number one. And he can learn other activities. For example, he can get involved in marketing. He can strategize how to best use different other AI products. So my cost is reduced to churn one activity and the same resource can be used at multiple places. Okay. Margin improvement, because I have tested my marketing, I have looked at my pricing optimization, my earning margins will change. Because now I optimally price, I have done my CS forecasting properly, my data is accurate, again with the help of AI and human, my margin and my incremental earning will improve. Faster decision cycle. This any one of you can explain now. I need a briefing. What is faster decision cycle with the help of AI? Ideas, yes, that's correct. Yeah, because now you've given all the inputs, it has turned out right results for you, you are confident on your results. Your decision cycle is in minutes. Right? This brings me to a very funny point. I'm sorry, I have a personal stories and tales. I was in IDC and I used to have a boss named Sandra. Sandra used to call me in the morning and say, hey, I'm going to an event today. What do you think the numbers look like? And I'm like, what numbers? And she went, I am going to talk about IoT market. Tell me the IoT market. Because she was a very rough boss. I cannot go and say, sorry, I just woke up. Right? She'll call me 2 a.m. in the morning, which is Singapore time, maybe 6 in the morning. And then I'll have to answer those questions. So, her GPT that time or AI that time was me telling her, hey, APJ market seems to be falling down. And in Singapore, this might happen. I have to be on my toes. Now, all of that can be fed in the system and provided. So, it was very, very human oriented and actually took a life away from human in between. The data was so much, so difficult for me to remember, and I had to put my specs on quickly and look at the data and just say, Sandra, hey, the numbers are like. Now I can just send her the links. Say, hey, you know what, I have done this search. This is your event tomorrow. Here is all the insight. So she could look good on the stage because she's right numbers. At the same time, it's good company reputation also. So you are not losing on your reputation. There are other things. We are saying the AI report has measurable financial effects and other things. I think we are all pretty much aware of this. Once you have your speedy decision making, you also have certain kind of confidence. I of all the people are the person who's a risk taker. Okay? And I take decisions very quickly to an extent my business partner gets heart attack sometimes. It's like in the morning we decided XYZ and in the evening you're saying you've done some research and you should change the direction completely. How is that possible? And then I'll sit and say, hey, wait. Then I'll take all the AI tools, I'll create all the information, I'll create sometimes I created apps also. I was like, why did you do this? Here is it ready. Just integrate your solution into it and we'll be happy with it. And that time you'll be like, oh, now I can take decision faster. Instead of you just coming and telling me, hey, now we need to create a workplace operating system that has more demand in the market and I have done some research around it. Why don't you just do this? Ask the developers to develop XYZ thing. It may take few months. I don't think that many months are required now. You can do it much faster. So if in case you guys are not learning to deal with AI properly or create your value, I would say, okay, then any employer will decide not to use it at that point. Okay? Because the moment you say, I will take 20 days to learn and I will come back to you after 20 days with a search and story, the other person will say, hey, you know what, my competitors will take over. I might have to go to board discussion. I can't wait for you for 20 days. I can't wait for 30 days to come back. So you need to learn to live with AI, how to use it best in your favor. So there's say product like AI in finance. How can AI work in finance? So you bring some research on that AI in finance.
Things and we are using agentic AI. So we are using ATKL to integrate the framework so that so we are identifying the threats and we are categorizing the level of threats. So into one framework we are taking the
Can we put it into finance?
finance. So it's completely
Your solution
computer
different. Your solution is very different. But in
But
finance, it's
my
very
problem-
relevant, I feel.
No.
Yes. Cyber security is pretty much relevant in finance.
No, we can use it. That's an application.
Yes.
But it's not directly related. My
It is not.
research is not directly.
Your concept is
Like
different.
for example, AI in finance is fraudulent
Transactions.
transactions and civil suits identification and
Yes.
there are measures.
There is one fraud I would like to share. I have a friend. At the midnight 2 o'clock, he's getting an email. And the real story. He's getting email saying his Axis Bank account and the card has been transacted for 2.5 lakh rupees. Midnight, he's sleeping. He just woke up with that mail, thinking what is happening. And then he's wondering, why am I sleeping? Transactions on my behalf. He called the bank and the reason we are checking into it. While they are checking into it, the second transaction happens. Another 2.5 lakh. 5 lakh rupees are gone. And then next day he reached to the cyber security cell talking about, hey, my data is gone. So the bank comes back and the cyber security cell comes back. Have you used your data in AI somewhere? Have you connected your account in it? Is your Gmail account or any account which has your account data, is it connected to any of the tools, AI tools? So while you guys are thinking that your data is secure, AI is also providing your data to others. So he lost 5 lakh rupees and obviously reprimanded from cyber security cell as well. To use data in a wrong way. But he had to block his account and a lot of other things happened. At the end of the day, he was part and parcel of the fraud because he was not responsible to use his data. He used his data in a very irresponsible way. However, AI can be helpful if you can customize your segments in finance, if you can put all the policies on the top of it, and put a clear fraud detection. If there is, all of you use cards, credit cards, bank cards, any one of you cards? No? Parents have not given it. Okay. So in a card, whenever you use in future, whenever you get your first card, there is something called manage your card transactions. Okay. As soon as you get your first card in life, please do that. Or your bank account. Manage your card transactions. Manage your account. When you go in there, you can change the limits. For example, you know that at any point in time, I will not use more than 5,000 rupees. Change the transaction to that. International transaction, you guys, none of you are traveling immediately to US or any other place. You can switch it on as soon as you land in another country. But when you are in India, switch the international transactions off. It's a continuous guideline that comes in that helps you with the fraud. If someone tries to put a entry on your card, you will get an email. Are you trying to do a transaction? Right? Because you only put 5,000 limit. You can't do more than 5,000. You immediately get a call, message and everything. Then you can call the bank saying, my data has been compromised. What has happened to my data? Someone has taken my card data. They are living in US, Europe, London somewhere. And they are trying to book a hotel with my card. And because I have switched on the international transaction, they failed. However, my data is compromised. Before you give your data everywhere, please be mindful. Okay? Automated reporting. It's very straightforward. Your data, once it is in the system, you get proper reports. You can actually decide the fields that you want, the structure that you want. Report is for whom? That also you can decide. It's for the manager, it's for the board member, it's for the CEO, CTO, who wants to see the data? AI in HR. This is one area where even I work on. We do a lot of skill mapping. When I say skill mapping, it is more like as a BCA student, what language you know? Java, React, or whichever. In the React portion also, which minute module you know. So we test your skill at that deeper level to map you to the right kind of job, skill mapping. Okay? It happens in all the fields, law, management and everything. But as simple as that, how clear are you with your concept? By the way, market is changing towards that. If you think just by sitting in interview, you will clear the interview and get a job, it won't. Now they will test you for your skills. Even for that matter, for prompt engineering also. two people from another college, DMS college. Most of the guys are very sweet, by the way. They said we use GPT. All the project that you see now, we done on GPT. And then my question to them was, here is my laptop. Here is my question. Use the GPT to get me a perfect answer out of it. And there were few who did a fantabulous job of prompt engineering also. And I felt that they are ready to do it. Because they know how to get the answers. And then they were open for learning. They said, ma'am, if you give us the topics, before we come for the next interview, we will prepare for it. And they did that. And then I hired them for their skills. So you need to have a very clear idea on what are your skills. When you go back home today, please look at your own profiles and say, what are my skills? Why will anyone hire me? What kind of value? See, we always ask businesses that what is the value that you will add to my life? Okay? Whereas when you go to interviews, you're supposed to say that what kind of value I can add to the business. See, as an employer, I always ask that question. You're coming to an interview. What are you bringing to the table? I can get the same done with all the AI tools now. Why do I hire you? What are your skills? That has to be very clear. AI in HR is very important because HRs are now looking at a very deep level of skills that you would do from the software aspect and from the technical aspect. Attrition prediction, the systems work really well, by the way. We have a lot of attrition plus your acceptance of the job offer as well, we can predict very beautifully by giving candidates certain actions. So while we send you offers, we add certain actions and we target those actions, that if you take those actions, what are your behavioral areas, behavioral aspects. If you don't take those actions, for example, if I say to confirm your employment with us, submit XYZ document and click on the button below, by confirming I can secure your data with all my HR team members. This is an example. And if you don't do so, I know that you might not join. Similar to that is attrition pattern. If some people are not coming to meetings, they are not available all the time, they are not on their desk all the time, system is actually calculating all of that. I will not name the companies, but some of the companies have implemented it. Attrition prediction. Because they are monitoring. Every time the employee is not on their seat for 4 hours, they are continuously on the call, they are taking interviews, or so they are ready for movement to the next one. Workforce planning, this is a very important area because you need to know the number of people you need for various departments because you have a limited budget. Okay? So now if you give AI the right question that I want to have 20 lakh rupees spent on the salaries, assumingly, how many people I can get with XYZ work capability in different departments. It can actually help me churn out the right number, provided you give them all the details about your business type and your requirement type. AI in operations. Does anyone want to explain what is operations? You guys understand what is operations in a business?
Like companies like Dictator, Poland, they have replaced the CEO as only. What is the system?
You need decision making from CEO based on data. So you don't need CEOs. Actually, the CEOs with no adding value are a burden to the company. So if CEO's role is to sign a document and waste my time and have to wait for 2 days, I don't need a CEO. So if you see my profile, I don't call myself CEO, I call myself principal consultant. And I had a mentor along with that. He told me never to be a CEO, by the way. He said a very interesting thing that might resonate with some of you maybe, is that always be a kingmaker. Never be a king. जब गला कटता है तो राजा का कटता है. लेकिन kingmaker का कोई ध्यान भी नहीं देगा, who made the king? Whereas kingmaker is the one who is taking all the decisions behind the scene. He is strategizing. He is playing all the games. He is creating the war. He is doing everything. King is king because he has a kingmaker. Someone who is taking all the decisions. Someone is going to mention in his ear, sir, let's prosecute so and so person because he behaved bad. Right? But from all that aspect, think about it. You are the brain. I never aspired to be a CEO. You should not aspire to be a CEO. However, you should try aspire to be an innovator, creator. Right? All by nature, We all have a lot of creativity. As children also we were creating some drawings, sketching, a lot of other things we would have done as a child, music. But because it's the requirement of the business, we go out, we have to work, we have to earn a living. We acquire certain skills. But while we are acquiring these skills, we should not leave our creativity. So to your point, sir, CEO mostly delays work. So I agree with that. If we hire the CEO, most of the time you're waiting for someone to sign the documents and you're like, what a frustrating job. AI in operations is about predictive maintenance. Now this is a bit of manufacturing side of the world. How are you maintaining your manufacturing unit in operations environment? Lot of times, if you think about, let's take an example of Coca-Cola. Okay, they have a lot of conveyor belts going on. They have a lot of robotic units going on, which are filling the bottles and capping the bottles and all. No robots can fail. Systems can fail. Predictive maintenance is that we assume every 6 months there's a maintenance required or a change required. That's predictive maintenance. AI with the data can actually predict to a level that if you buy XYZ conveyor belt from XYZ vendor, it tend to fail. So we have interesting to share. You guys can share loudly. You guys are sharing something, share with us as well. You have to be quiet. It's not a. Your teacher will sit in this side. I'm not hearing you. You can speak loudly. I thought as I must be conversation having this. Then energy efficiency. Coming to your whole concept of business and sustainability. At this stage where we are standing today, we do have businesses, but not sustainable businesses. The businesses are sustained by two parts. One is price resources, second is profitability. Everyone is focusing on profitability and using the resources. But who will replenish the resources? Who will save the earth while it's heating up so bad? Okay? So your energy efficiency comes from that perspective. For example, if your conveyor belt or your robot is done working, it should switch off on its own. It should have a rest time. So your maintenance cost will decrease, your efficiency will increase. Going forward in future, whenever you buy an electric equipment for your house or a bulb, or you should actually move to efficient, energy efficient sort of products. For example, the lights that switch off when you move around. Most of you must be having parents who shouting, please switch off the lights, please switch off the fans, right? You don't do that. Most of us don't do that, even I don't. Right? So, but what I did was, I moved to energy efficient. Or the moment I'm out of the rooms, they switch off. It saves energy for the environment. Not only saving my bill, but it's also saving the environment. If you realize, how many of you are from Bangalore, born brought up here? So you remember Bangalore 20 years back? You know, you've heard from your parents 15 years back, 10 years back, 10 years back. You see the environmental change in Bangalore? Temperatures have changed quite a bit, right? I came to Bangalore 25 years back. Drastically changed.
Trees and all more trees have been for construction of
There are no more trees.
apartments.
It used to be a garden city, now it's a building city.
More number of apartments came.
Yeah. So it's completely changed. The environment is completely changed. Bangalore never needed ACs 20 years back. 25 years back when I moved to Bangalore, it was raining so profusely all the time. You hardly needed fans, you hardly needed ACs. And now you can't survive the weather. It's that hot. So sustainability is very important. Does anyone of you want to explain AI in marketing? We have discussed quite a bit. At least you should be able to add something. None? They all make face in the other direction. Like, mujhse mat pucho. I don't want to answer any questions. What is AI in marketing? It's very straightforward.
Mentioning AI after every product.
Sorry, go ahead.
For example, the Wi-Fi also, we had AI.
Okay.
The AI Wi-Fi, it will check your data.
You are actually contributing quite a bit. Why don't you just speak? We are talking to each other. Share with me also. I'll get some insights. No? It's a secret talk that I've been continuously. Okay. None of you are influencers, YouTube videos, Instagram, nothing? Are you? You're on Instagram? No? Any one of you? Your teachers are not looking at you, so you can say, raise your hand. You are a good kid, yeah? None of you are on Instagram, none of you are on YouTube. Everyone has, right? I know. So how many of you daily post? You guys know? Some of you I'm sure are influencers and daily posting. Hey, I'm ready for the college. No?
That is Snapchat. You are talking about Snapchat.
I'm sorry. Yes, Snapchat maybe. But something like, on the Instagram or Snapchat. Sorry?
AI in marketing for slogans we can use.
You
Campaigning
use for slogans. You even use for video creations where you want to add your audio and you're walking in some beautiful.
Now it is giving all the content itself. Like the
It
script
does. It has very beautiful imagery also. So most of the time when I am posting my videos, what I do is I actually give my script. I say I want to use this deck and I want to use not my voice for all the reasons. I want the script to be on this PPT for my courses and all workshops. It does very beautifully put everything on it. And I also sometimes tell them my audience is younger audience. My audience is of my age or so and so forth. It does personalization of messaging. Okay, so all of you use Instagram and I know all of you know Snapchats for that matter. That personalization with your audience is very important. You are posting for your age group. You are not sending for your parents or teachers, right? So it's for your audience, which is of your age. You are personalizing the message. The other example could be that I am posting for, say, I don't know if anyone of you do this, but some of the kids also do tarot card reading, right? Or the other type of discussions. When you do that, you know that people who would be interested in tarot card will come to your page or to your Snapchat or something. What you do is your messaging is accordingly. So if you're a tarot card reader is talking about your boyfriend, girlfriend relationship issues, I know my target audience, right? You've come to my page because today your boyfriend or girlfriend has broken your heart. Personalization of messaging. And then you're like, oh, हाँ, हुआ तो है मेरे साथ. Someone has ditched me today. I feel very sad today. Right? So that's how we personalize the messaging. Same goes with the product. Right? So in a product, if my target audience is companies, I will not do this kind of messaging. That because you are heartbroken, please buy my product. Right? I change the messaging to relevant to them. Right? Okay? Please be loud. No? Don't want to be loud? Why? I especially, no offense to males, to females, if you will not be able to make your voice loud enough, you will be never heard in corporates. You'll always be you'll never be a queen bee. You'll always be a worker bee. So it's your decision. From the first point when I started, it's your decision to be whatever you want to be. Be a worker bee and help all your peers to grow. Okay, क्या बोलना है? Let me tell my idea to my friend, he might get a promotion. I don't need a promotion, I don't need money. Or I can say, hey, ये मेरा idea था, I was thinking slowly and he or she took my idea away. Decision is yours. Please don't tell guys, please don't take offense. Okay? It's because the girls are not speaking at all, I really want to motivate them to speak. And women's day is also coming. Lead scoring. Lead scoring is how do you score your leads to get converted. If any one of you come from a marketing background, you would know we have something called IDA model. You create awareness with your leads or they will be converted to an action. IDA is awareness, interest, desire and action. Okay? So you score the leads accordingly. Customer lifetime value. Customer stays with you long or not, or if you need to be able to characterize. With that, we are coming to sustainable growth. It's pretty pretty much we have explained and talked through, and I really want one of you to explain. I've been asking throughout my presentation, one of you to explain what is sustainable growth. What is sustainable growth for you guys, at a personal level? Speak now. I gave a lecture for you.
Ma'am, is this related to SDG goals?
Not exactly to SDG goal, to some extent. To some extent. See, now every company is slightly different from SDG because that's called green investing. SDG is more around that you have a goal towards planet and
Whatever the things we have borrowed from our ancestors, that should retain same.
that's is environment sustainability. This is business sustainability.
So profit, in terms of profit, we have to.
Sustainable growth for a business is very different, honestly. Sustainability from an environment perspective is very different. What you called is called green investing. We pick up a project where we can actually move towards environment, contribute towards environment, and we have a definitive money put towards green investment. What happens in those cases specifically is green investing. The venture capitalist, before investing into a company, states very, very clearly, I will invest only if you pick up a SDG goal, which is, for example, I want to go to a small town in Africa and add towards education, women health or something of those lines, and then I will invest and I will monitor your reports regularly. That's environment sustainability. What is business sustainability? Environment is important.
Like how long I can sustain the market?
Yes. How long I can sustain and how my profit.
Complicated world.
How long I can ethically stay in market.
But
That's the balance I'm trying to show. You want to grow, profitability, everyone wants to increase.
everyone wants profits.
But are you resilient with the changing market situations? And are you responsible? Your governance is a responsible governance. Part of it is towards environment, part of it is towards your own ethics in the business. Fair competition, going in the right markets, following the policies, disclosing your documents, using AI responsibly. All that comes in play if you use AI responsibly. Responsible governance of AI is a major area, by the way. If any one of you is pursuing jobs, career, and a life with AI, responsible governance is the area you guys need to really look at. There will be a lot of jobs coming. Operational sustainability. I think I explained it before. Energy optimization, waste reduction. Your chemical waste should be processed. The process optimizations. All that with the help of AI, your data points can be moved very fast. Okay? Can be taken here very, very quickly. So you need to use AI in this area very specifically because your tools are very friendly to AI now. IoT, like your sir is doing one project on IoT. So look at that. IoT is one of the areas which actually generates all the data which can be used by AI very efficiently for the process automations and all that. ESG intelligence, so we come to your point now. AI will build a lot of ESG intelligence. AI can track the vendors who are providing you bad material. AI can track if your area is getting warmer, though you're promoting that you are taking care of all the chemical waste, all the energy efficiency has been implemented. However, there's a trap there, by the way. When we say that we are managing all the ESG area, what happens is in the attempt to do ESG, we are creating more waste. For example, some of the companies end up changing their batteries in their rotator belts every 6 months, thinking it might lead to a waste. And we go to greener batteries. In that process, they get a lot of waste. Those things have to be checked. AI builds that intelligence very beautifully. It does do a lot of carbon tracking, carbon calculation. Reporting, all of you know that ESG reporting is mandatory for all the businesses now. If you don't report how you are contributing to the environment or you are taking away from the environment, your approvals can go for a toss, especially in the manufacturing industry. Climate risk modeling, we have been talking about Bangalore is getting warmer. Okay? How your business, how your firm is impacting the climate, how it is changing the climate, and what kind of risk you can take towards the environment. It does tell you that very clearly. agentic AI. How many of you now know agentic AI? This should be the area you guys all know, right? Anyone just speak about what is agentic? What is agentic AI? None of you know? Task can be ordered. Okay. With both the answers, I think it's part and parcel of both. You need to understand your process to see how can you automate the whole process or improve the whole process. So agents help you kind of create a process which can optimally get you results. Okay, that is the AI co-pilots that have been happening nowadays. It continuously optimizes because the models are created such they learn. The moment you tell them that there's an error in your prediction, they will learn. Contrary to the humans, when humans start arguing that no, my model is correct, AI doesn't argue. AI learns from it. It goes back, checks and comes back and says, hey, you know what, I believe there are 5 pointers where I'm correct and there are 2 pointers maybe I went wrong. Whereas as humans, that is the flaw that we carry, that we take very defensive approach towards any feedback, which AI does not. So on this framework, so your data quality defines your results in AI. Your bias monitoring. Now humans, when they are dealing with data, they can also have bias. So does AI. Okay, it's learning from us. The more one type of data we start inputting, the more one type of answer we start getting. It does get into bias. Okay, explainability. You were explaining me the explainability in the morning. Explainable AI. It actually, whatever you can explain clearly, you can actually put the routing very clearly. Human oversight, it can actually detect human oversight if you ask it to do so. If you command it to do so. That as a human, I'm doing XYZ activities. Please monitor my activities and tell me if there's a human oversight. So governance frameworks can be very tight. Responsible AI and governance is one of the areas for the AI ethical deployment. And it can actually earn a very good salary if you are looking for this. Read about it, it's a new area. All the companies are hiring people who can actually understand governance frameworks, create governance frameworks, how to best use the neural networks and the AI ML models, and how to manage all this. So this AI can be poor data, over automation. You are depending too much on AI, you are automating everything, and now you don't know where to stop. Sometimes you automate so much that you don't know where to stop and where to break the line and how to check the data also. So there has to be always a human intervention in technology. Ethical blind spots. This is a very interesting concept. We all understand blind spots. We all have blind spots, by the way, all of us. Right? Anyone explain what is your blind spot? Not to give your blind spot, define. Just define what is blind spot.
Like weakness.
It's a weakness. Blind spot is not something you purposely do. Yeah. We are all wired in a certain way that we have a blind spot. There's a Harvard author. She has a book called Blind Spot. It's worth reading for all of you. We sometimes don't even know that whatever we are seeing in front of our eyes is not true. Okay? That is my blind spot. Sometimes when we are working with AI, we get a tunnel vision. We just look into one direction. We forget to look at the other. When we are not looking at this side, what happens? Blind spot. When you're driving, we say, I got hit by another car because I was turning on a blind spot. Right? So as simple as that. In life also, we take decisions on certain areas because we had a blind spot. When you go out of college, none of you know which company you will join. You will take a risk. You will take a turn. Right? With the blind spot. Okay? Or you will take an informed decision. So it's up to you to decide that what is my blind spot. For example, I can tell you my blind spot. I'm a very emotional person. If you come and cry to me for 2 minutes, I will say, oh, let me help you. Okay, this is my blind spot. The moment you start talking your emotional story, I forget to think that it could be fake as well. and the person is going through so much. He or she had so much of problem with the family and the trauma in the life. Let me figure out something for the other person. And I start projecting their problem. The same thing happens with AI. You go with the mind of a victim, a trauma patient, you start projecting your problems on your models, on your products as well. Okay, so it can amplify your strengths and weaknesses. We're coming almost to the end of the discussion. I know you guys are now tired. Okay, so implementation phase 1. So we generally discuss the AI in multiple phases. Step 1 is you need to assess your business readiness. Are you ready to do a AI business or not? Are you ready to implement AI into your process or not? Then you identify the high impact cases. So there can be multiple cases, use cases that are in the system that you can apply in your product. Okay, but you have to see high impact. Who is my target audience? Who will get most impacted by my AI model? For example, in healthcare, if I optimize the bed availability across Bangalore, will it be high impact or low impact? It will be high impact, right? I would know which hospital has an empty bed for a patient who needs immediate attention. And furthermore, if I can add a helicopter service or a helicopter ambulance to it, that you don't have to pay for it, but if your health is XYZ, I can provide you helicopter service to reach to a available hospital for immediate attention. It's a very high impact use. Okay? But for your product, you have to identify. Low impact would be just telling that, okay, the beds are not clean. Clean the beds. That's very low impact. You have to launch your pilots with AI. Take small initiative, take small steps. Don't go full-fledged with AI projects. ROI is my favorite topic. You need to understand total cost of ownership of any project. Based on that, decide how much will be your return on investment. Until unless you understand how much money you are spending on AI, you will never be able to get your ROI, return on investment. AI drifts. AI drifting is so real that every time you switch on to AI, it goes into a very different direction. Okay, and then your whole plan to develop a product, deliver a product within a month or so goes for a toss, and your cost of ownership of that product increases. Higher the cost, lower the revenue. Economics doesn't change across. Phase 2. Once your pilots are proved, tested, your market is tested, you scale them to full-fledged products. You integrate functionalities. When I say integrate functionalities, you look at how can you use the same agent or the agentic AI in other processes to optimize. You don't have to recreate everything again and again. You need to embed AI in your strategy. This is very evident. We need to be the ones who are strategizing to use it. We need to be the innovators to use it. We need to embed it in our story properly. Okay. This we have been discussing throughout. Your decision speed is better. That you need to measure. That before I used AI, was I able to take a decision in 1 day, 2 days, or 10 days? After AI, what is my decision speed? Have my business improved? My margins are better now. My efficiency is improved. My environment metrics, are they changing? Am I adding more to environment? Am I taking more from environment? Both sides. You need to understand both sides of the story, financial as well as sustainability. Sustainability have two aspects. One is financial side again, sustainable business, and second part is your environment. This is your future outlook. If you guys are not getting ready to work with AI, there will be autonomous enterprises which work completely on AI, like Sir just mentioned, CEO being AI, and many other roles will be filled by AI if we don't cope up with the system very quickly. People who are from slightly past generation, when we had computers coming in, okay, a lot of bankers took voluntary retirement. They felt that learning computer is a difficult job. Now it is like a basic thing. The kids learn the computer as soon as they are born. Next, in class 1, they have their own laptops to work on. But that time it was a havoc. The same thing is happening with AI. People don't want to use AI. They want to run away from it. You need to learn to be with it. You need adaptive organizations. These are your key takeaways. I don't have to read this, but you guys can take a look at it go through it and take few points. You need to be responsible, especially when you're using AI in college. Trust me, I continue to tell everyone, it's the worst place to use AI, college. Because then you are not learning, you are training your model. Your model will be very good. Your AI model, which understand that Anuradha ma'am or Swami sir taught XYZ concepts today, your model has learned from Swami sir and then XYZ modules ready. It's beneficial for him that way he can take his online course very quickly. So when kids are using AI model while you are teaching, AI is learning from you. They are not. Their models have learned. When their models have learned, it's beneficial for you.
When we are taking up any classes, students have become very intelligent where they can turn on voice chat.
Okay.
Chat will be voice chat.
Yes.
And whatever we are teaching it will be recorded. Immediately they will evaluate whether what we are teaching is right or wrong. That's how.
But they cannot tell you what is right or wrong. I tell you because AI hallucinates. So it cannot actually 100% understand what you are talking because it will go back to and compare with some random book. If you actually want to compare what sir is teaching, create your own GPTs. Create your own GPTs by adding the books in that. You know, download the whole books and add it to that and then understand what it says. It might 100% match. Okay? And the other part is it doesn't have life experience. Like while I'm talking to you, if I make a model standard, it will not give you any life experiences, examples, stories. It will be a very bland learning. Someone continuously telling you, do X, do Y, do Z. That's all. Okay? Yeah, it tell you facts. It won't take decision for you. The moment AI start decision for you, then you are out of the job completely. So now decision making is also with AI. Okay? It should be augmenting you. If teacher is teaching, it's actually to augment your knowledge. That way your parents invested in you, so as you can learn from teacher. Okay? If they had to pay for AI, I would rather buy you ChatGPT subscription, Pro subscription, and 5 more tools, and not pay for the college degree. Easy, right? For parent also it's easy. That's what I said. I said with whatever they are doing, voice recording, sir, and putting on GPT, sir has a lot of value with that actually. You can create your own modules, online teaching modules, and start your online academy maybe, but they are not learning anything out of it. It's beneficial for the teachers basically. Because now module knows every time Swami sir in XYZ class is teaching these concepts and this is the flow of this course. Any question and answer? Anything anyone wants to add? Anything anyone wants to add? It's like no questions?